Good evening, and welcome to another spooky episode of Codo Cinema, the podcast show where I talk about movies. I bid you welcome as your host, Mark Codo, aka Codoman. Well, folks, we are here. We are at the end of October, and Halloween is right around the corner. So, to conclude Codo Cinema Horror Month, I would like to take you all to space. Why? Well, because in space, no one can hear you scream. That sounds like an interesting tagline right there, right? I mean, as interesting as it sounds kind of scary too. Well, it sure is. In fact, I'm pretty sure this can describe a film in space that can be pretty scary too. So the movie that I'm going to talk about, well, to close off Kodo Cinema Horror Month for the 2024 year, and the movie would be 1979's Alien. Now, Alien is a 1979 science fiction horror film directed by Ridley Scott and written by Dan O'Bannon, based on a story by O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett. It follows a spaceship crew who investigate some sort of spaceship and are hunted by a deadly extraterrestrial creature. The film stars Tom Skerritt, Sigourney Weaver, Veronica Cartwright, Harry D. Stanton, John Hurt, Ian Holm, and Yaphet Kotto. It was produced by Gordon Carroll, David Giler, and Walter Hill through their company Brandywine Productions and was distributed by 20th Century Fox. Giler and Hill revised and made additions to the script, while Shusett was the executive producer. The alien creatures and environments were designed by Swiss artist H.R. Geiger, while the concept artists Rob Cobb and Chris Foss designed the other sets. Now that sounds very interesting right there. Now the film, as I mentioned, Alien, came out in 1979. It came out on May 25th of 1979, the opening night of the 4th Seattle International Film Festival. It received a wide release on June 22nd and was released on September 6th in the United Kingdom. Now, ironically, this film received mixed reviews, but it won the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, while the film was nominated for Best Art Direction. Now, of course, the first Alien movie, yes, this is the first film in the Alien franchise. The first Alien movie grossed $187 million at the worldwide box office, and it had a budget of $11 million. And in later years, Alien was critically reassessed and is now considered one of the greatest and most influential science fiction and horror films of all time. And in 2002, Alien was deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant by the Library of Congress and was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry. And in 2008, it was ranked by the American Film Institute as the 7th best film in the science fiction genre and as the 33rd greatest film of all time, according to Empire. Now, of course, the success of Alien spawned a media franchise of films, books, video games, and toys, and propelled Sigourney Weaver's acting career. Now, of course, the story of her character's encounters with the alien creatures became the thematic and narrative core of the sequels, which is Aliens, that came out in 1986, which was actually directed by James Cameron, Alien 3, which was directed by David Fincher, and of course, Alien Resurrection. Plus, there were also spin-off movies, such as a crossover with The Predator, and of course, two prequel films that were directed by Ridley Scott, Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Of course, this year, we also got a new Alien movie titled Alien Romulus, which is actually in theaters. Quite surprising, right? Now, of course, also to mention that Alien is celebrating its 45th anniversary, so talk about good timing right here, folks. Like, I'm talking about the Alien movie on its 45th anniversary. So might as well talk about it. Now, just to give a brief background, I never really got into the Alien franchise as much. It's because I wasn't really into it. I wasn't really into it. I mean, sure, I know the people who I know some of the people who were involved with it. Obviously, Sigourney Weaver and John Hurt, because I recognize the actors because I know these actors in a few other projects. Like John Hurt, who was in this movie, who was in this movie. He played a character in this movie named Kane. He appeared in other movies too. Like he was in the Black Cauldron as the Horned King. He was also in the Elephant Man. He was also in Harry Potter. He was also in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and a few other movies as well. As for Sigourney Weaver has made a name for herself. Like this is one of her early films, and this film, along with Aliens, made her a huge star, including the Ghostbusters movies as well. I mean, she went on to do other projects too after Aliens. Of course, obviously Aliens. She was also in Ghostbusters. She also played the warden in Walt Disney's Holes. I mean, she was also in the Avatar movies as well with James Cameron. So she's definitely got a good filmography, folks. Now, of course, like I've seen clips of the first Alien movie. Like I've seen a few clips, but I actually watched this movie twice on Disney Plus, and I was amazed by this film, and I was amazed by this movie. Like I did not know what to expect while watching this first movie. Now, of course, with the success of that film, there were sequels. I saw bits and pieces of Aliens, so I mean, I didn't watch the whole movie of the second Alien movie. I mean, obviously, I know James Cameron was involved in the second film. I watched the opening of Alien 3 I believe I stopped watching after watching the first 5 minutes. I tried to watch it on Disney Plus on my phone. I heard a lot of people did not like Alien 3. And I never seen the Prometheus movies, to be honest. I mean, I was not interested in watching Prometheus. Although I haven't seen Alien Romulus yet, but I heard a lot of good things about that. I guess when it comes out on streaming, I guess Hulu or Disney Plus, since Disney technically owns 20th Century Fox now. So maybe once Alien Romulus hits the streaming services, whether it's Hulu, Disney Plus, or whatever streaming service it may be on, I may actually go check it out. But that's just my background. So anyway, I'm going to travel up to space and talk about 1979's Alien. So the movie opens up with the commercial spaceship named the Nostromo, and the Nostromo is returning to Earth with a 7-member crew, which includes Captain Dallas, Executive Officer King, Warrant Officer Ripley, Navigator Lambert, Science Officer Ash, and Engineers Parker and Brett. Now, obviously enough, going off with the names, Dallas is being played by Tom Skerritt. Kane, who's the executive officer, is being played by John Hurt. Ripley is being played by Sigourney Weaver. Lambert is played by Veronica Cartwright. Parker, who's being played by Yaphet Kotto. Brett, being played by Harry Dean Stanton. And of course Ash, who's being played by Ian Holm. Now these are our main characters in the first Alien movie, who are basically space truck drivers, and they're basically heading home. They're basically heading back home to Earth, and they're basically in their sleeper pods too. They're basically in their sleepy pods until the ship's computer detects a transmission from a nearby planet and awakens the crew. And the first person who wakes up is Kane. Kane wakes up first, and then the others wake up later. And what I really like about this opening really, the opening is very atmospheric. If just to say, like you feel the atmosphere of the opening for this movie. Like there's no dialogue in the first couple minutes of this movie. Like all you hear is music. Like you just hear the music from Jerry Goldsmith. Yes, Jerry Goldsmith does the music for Alien, and I gotta be honest, I say this was a good way. This was a very good way to open this movie because knowing the fact that this is a horror movie set in space, I'm pretty sure it's not the first time they did a horror film in space. But I could definitely tell from the film's opening, it's like you feel the atmosphere, but it's also eerie, dark. I want to say creepy at the same time because knowing the fact of what we're gonna, of what we as viewers, and of course what the characters are going to go through later on in the movie, and the music is so, it's so foreboding. It's like it's creepy. Like as it's creepy up on you. And this is thanks to Jerry Goldsmith. Jerry Goldsmith really opens the film very well in a much more creepy tone. And the title sequence was developed. The title sequence for Alien, it's not like coming down, but it's like literally placed at the top of the screen. Like all you're seeing is the all you're seeing is outer space, and throughout the opening, while the credits are rolling, you see the title of the movie popping up a little bit, and the title sequence was developed by R. Greenberg Associates to instill a sense of foreboding. The letters broken into pieces, the space between them unsettling. And and that title alone, and the way how it's set up, it is referenced as one of the most iconic opening sequences of all time. Talk about setting the tone for this movie. Now, moving forward, as I mentioned, the crew members wake up, and Kane was the first one who woke up. Like even before that, like we see like the Nostromo, the inside of the Nostromo, of like knowing the fact like there's nobody inside as of now. I mean, obviously for the crew members, they're all in their sleeper pods, but I really like the introduction. Like we see the Nostromo. Obviously, we kind of realize that, oh yeah, these are space truck drivers who are in their sleeper pods, and this is basically this is basically what they're doing. Like they're basically going into space, being space truck drivers, and seeing the interior of the Nostromo. That is a good way to set up the location, and knowing the fact of like, these space truck drivers are working inside the ship. And that's a good way. And that's a good way to set up your characters too. You don't see the characters until they wake up from their sleeper pods. All you see is the inside of the ship, and the music is really telling the story too. It's still creepy at the same time, knowing what we're gonna experience later on. But I'll say this: it is a good, this film. The opening of this movie really sets the tone and the introduction to our characters very well, and of course the Nostromo as well. So anyway, as I mentioned, the ship's computer detects a transmission from a nearby planet and awakens the crew, following company policy to investigate transmissions indicating intelligent life. They land on the planet, and Dallas, Kane, and Lambert head out to investigate. They discover that the transmission comes from an alien spaceship, where they find the remains of a large alien with a hole in its torso. Now later, the Nostromo ship, which is controlled by, well, obviously the mother, which is basically mother. I guess it's another name for mothership for the Nostromo. It deciphers part of the transmission, which Ripley determines to be a warning message. Now, this is just my common sense going on. Like, why wasn't the transmission sent out before the crew members decide to go out and discover this planet? Like, why didn't they do that? Knowing the fact that what we're going to experience later on. But I guess they kind of did. But I guess the writers kind of did that just, set up the plot. This is kind of like a, hey, you screw around, you find out sort of thing, if you know what I'm saying. But other than that, even if they did send the transmission signal a little early, the movie would probably ended too soon, if you know what I'm saying, right? So Kane, being played by John Hurt, discovers a chamber containing hundreds of large eggs. And right out of the gates, I could tell right away that this is gonna get very serious and scary. Like knowing the fact that Kane is checking out hundreds of eggs, like you know damn well what's gonna happen, right? Like these are not your typical eggs. These are alien eggs. And when Kane touches one of the eggs, it opens by itself. Like the egg, once he touches the egg opens by itself like it's nothing. And even then, even before the egg opens, Kane discovers that there is life inside that egg. Yeah, there is life inside that egg. And until then, a spider-like creature springs out and penetrates his helmet and attaches itself to his face. And that little creature, that spider-like creature that attaches to Kane's face, a lot of people, like today, a lot of people will recognize that creature as a face hugger. And we kind of know what's going to happen later on. So Dallas and Lambert carry the unconscious Kane back to the Nostromo ship, as the acting senior officer Ripley refuses to let them aboard, citing quarantine regulations. But Ash, who's being played by Ian Holm, overrides her. Now, of course, Ripley is being played by Sigourney Weaver, and of course, Parker and Brett are working on repairing the Nostromo. So later on, Ash attempts to remove the creature from Kane's face, but he stops when he discovers that the creature's blood is basically acid. It's acid blood. This is not your typical blood. It's acid blood, and it could harm Kane and potentially damage the ship's hull. So anyway, Dallas goes down to the bottom of the Nostromo to see, just to like stop the acid from disintegrating all the way down to the bottom. Thankfully, it stops just in time. Thankfully it stops just in time, and knowing the fact that this acid is, I want to say this acid is obviously this acid is very dangerous, but also I feel like that's more of a warning. I like to say a warning sign, knowing the fact that Kane, and Lambert brought in an alien creature aboard the ship, while of course violating quarantine procedures. But of course, the creature, the face hugger, dies. Like, it detaches itself and dies. And of course, everybody on the ship was like, huh, okay. We don't have to worry about this alien creature on board. And of course, Kane wakes up like it's nothing, like nothing has ever happened. So obviously enough, everybody comes back to the main hallway to have one last meal before going back to hypersleep and head back to Earth. So then, while everybody is having their last meal, I will say this: everybody in this scene, all the crew members in this scene are like getting along with each other. They're getting along with each other, right? Like as if they were like one big happy family. I mean, of course, obviously we know that Sigourney Weaver's character Ripley knows something is. I mean, obviously Sigourney Weaver's character Ripley and Dallas, they have their arguments with each other, especially knowing the fact that they brought in, especially the fact that Dallas brought in an alien creature breaking quarantine rules. Like, in my opinion, I don't think Dallas is a good leader. Like, he breaks a lot of rules, especially the quarantine rules of bringing an alien creature on board the ship, right? Like, it was like a face hugger that was attached to Kane's face. And obviously enough, thankfully the face hugger itself is dead, thank goodness, but that doesn't help what's going to happen later on. So during the final crew meal before returning to hypersleep, Kane suddenly chokes as if it was like a heart attack or even a stroke, and Kane is basically struggling, and he's shaking around as if he was feeling pain inside his body. And what's really intense, this is a violent and intense scene, and to be honest, this is probably one of the best scenes of this movie, in my personal opinion. And this is basically with Kane. Kane is feeling the pain inside his stomach, and until then, what comes next is a small alien creature bursts out of the chest, and it kills him instantly and escapes into the ship. Now, this scene, right? This scene that bursts out of Kane's chest, we call it a chest burster, right? And that is obviously one of the most bloodiest scenes that we have seen in this movie. Like, it is violent. Even the crew members were surprised by that. Even blood splatter all over the room, including one of the crew members' face. Even Ash, once Ash saw the alien creature popping out of Kane, he was like, "No, no, no, no! Don't touch it! Don't touch it!" Until the alien runs away inside the ship. Not only was that a scary scene, but that is arguably one of the best scenes in this movie. Now, going into the chest bursting scene, the scene was actually meant to be filmed in one take. A lot of people said that the chest bursting scene was actually filmed in one take. Unfortunately, that is not true. The chest bursting scene was not filmed in one take, despite the myth. The scene was filmed twice, and on the first take, the chest burster was unable to cut through Kane's shirt, so the crew needed a reset and shoot it again. The failed attempt is visible in the finished film, since director Ridley Scott thought it made it look like the creature was struggling to push his way out. And oddly enough, according to designer Ron Cobb, the 2 takes of the scene were shot from multiple angles, and about 40 minutes of footage was available for screening. Now that is crazy right there. Like think about it. A scene that was actually meant to be one take, a scene like that was going to be a one take scene, but unfortunately it was actually shot more than once. So, and sometimes you need to have a scene filmed more than once. Even if the original take is good, and if you want to use it, that's great. But sometimes it's good to have more than one take. It mixes it because you can actually mess around with it and see how far it will go to make the scene look good. Sometimes it's good to have more than one take than just one take. It's surprising to me that the chest bursting scene was originally going to be filmed in one take, but unfortunately, that's not true. Even the visual effects, even the effect on this scene too, right? Like the actual chest bursting scene, like dude, that is crazy. Like the chest bursting scene was shoved up through the table in a false torso by a puppeteer, and the scene itself has been recognized as one of the film's most memorable scenes, especially when Kane was inspecting the egg, and that was actually shot in post-production with a fiberglass egg that was used so that actor John Hurt could shine his light on it and see movement inside, which was provided by Ridley Scott, fluttering his hands inside the egg while wearing rubber gloves. And of course, the egg was hydraulic, and the inwards were a cow's stomach and tripe. Ugh, that is disgusting. And test shots of the eggs were filmed using hen's eggs, and this footage was used in early teaser trailers. And for that reason alone, the image of a hen's egg was used on the poster and has become emblematic of the franchise as a whole, as opposed to the alien egg that appears in the finished film. Now that's interesting right there. Even the face hugger, the little spider creature, the face hugger, and his proboscis, which was made of sheep's intestine, were shot out of the egg using high pressure air hoses, and the shot was reversed and slowed down in editing to prolong the effect and reveal more detail. And Ron Cobb, came up with the idea that the creature could have a powerful acid for blood, a characteristic that would carry over to the adult alien and will make it impossible for the crew to kill by any conventional means, such as guns or explosives, since the acid will burn through the ship's hull. Now that is insane right now. That's insane right there. Like, talk about like behind the scenes details about the chest burster scene and the face hugger, including the eggs as well. Like, that is crazy. That is crazy right there. And even the crew member, even the rest of, with Kane being killed. Now going back to the movie, with Kane being killed, the rest of the crew members were like, "Oh crap, what have we done?" I mean, aside from Ripley, even Ripley knows what's going on. You have to realize that Dallas violated almost every rule on the ship. Like, aside from Ripley, everybody's like, "Oh crap, what have we done?" Yeah, you guys are screwed up big time now. There is an alien creature on the ship. I even like the reaction from Ash. She's like, "Oh shit, we are screwed." Yeah, you guys are screwed, alright. So anyway, after ejecting Kane's body out of an airlock, the crew attempts to locate the creature using tracking devices and kill it. And of course, there was also another crew member on the ship. It turns out to be a pet cat named Jonesy or Jones. Although I'm pretty sure a lot of people call the cat Jonesy in the Alien movie. So Brett follows the crew's pet cat Jonesy into a Landy Lake compartment, and Brett is being played by Harry Dean Stanton. Harry Dean Stanton's a good actor, by the way. Like Brett follows the cat Jonesy, and while that's going on, like Jonesy hisses at Brett, but what Brett doesn't realize that the cat is hissing at the alien creature, who is now fully grown into this giant monster. Like this dude, this alien creature was a baby, was a little baby, and in a few hours it turned into this giant 7-foot monster. Isn't that insane? Like hell, this crazy alien was like a baby and now it turned into a monster. How can something so cute turn into something so dangerous? And of course, this surprised Brett. Like you hear part of a little bit of Jerry Goldsmith's music, like it's starting to rise up a bit. As a way to to introduce the alien. Like the alien, you see a close up of the alien's face, and the alien hisses and grabs Brett and takes him all the way up to the ceiling and kills him. Holy crap! Like Brett gets killed off, and after the kill, it cuts back to Jonesy, who has this like extreme close up look on his face. He's like, uh oh. Like yeah, Jonesy's like, uh oh, we're in for deep. We're in for deep catastrophe of a night. Sorry, I had to, because Jonesy just watched a crew member get killed, mind you, from a cat's perspective. So anyway, Dallas is the next man in, and he enters the ducts with a flamethrower, intending to force the creature into an airlock. But unfortunately, the alien attacks him. Now, this is, in my opinion, another scary scene, because Dallas is inside the duct, or air vent if you want to say, and he's trying to find the alien. And while that's going on, Lambert was the one freaking out, and Ripley is also listening to all of it, making sure that Dallas is trying to find the alien creature. And while that's going on, you hear Jerry Goldsmith's music rising up. Like, this is like horrifying music that he's playing. Like, as the alien is coming close to Dallas, you hear Jerry Goldsmith's music. It is scary, knowing the fact that Dallas is going to be the next man out. And of course, the alien pops out of nowhere and screams in front of Dallas. And it cuts back to Ripley trying to reach out to Dallas. That, in my opinion, is probably the scariest scene in this movie. If you thought the chest bursting scene was scary enough, then the alien creature popping out and screaming in front of Dallas and takes him away is on a whole nother scary level. That scene alone will probably give people nightmares first time watching. Like, if anybody who has seen this for the first time knows what I'm talking about, basically Dallas being captured by the alien inside the air vent, that is a very scary scene, especially when that alien creature does that scream. That is scary. Even Lambert freaking out adds to the tension of this scene as well, including Jerry Goldsmith's music. So anyway, Parker later finds only the flamethrower, and Lambert suggests fleeing in the escape shuttle, but Ripley, now in command, explains that it will not support 4 people and insists on continuing Dallas's plan to flush out the alien. Okay, so now Dallas was thinking a bit. Like, Dallas realized what he did. It's like Ripley knew Dallas screwed up big time. Like he really screwed up this whole mission. Like, come on, Dallas screwed up this whole, Nostromo mission until the whole alien creature came on board, because he brought the alien creature on board, and he was killed by the creature that he brought on board. Or was he? there's another scene in this movie that was actually cut, and I will get to that pretty soon. So Dallas's plan. So at least Dallas came up with a plan to stop the alien creature, but now Dallas is gone. So Ripley, who's being in command right now, is taking over and telling her crew members to search for this alien. So while accessing the ship, Ripley discovers that the crew was awoken and directed to the planet because the company secretly ordered Ash to return with the alien for study and to consider the crew expendable. And this comes into a full realization for Ripley as Ash walks in and tries to kill her. But unfortunately, Parker intervenes, knocking Ash's head loose and revealing himself to be an android. Yep, Ash is basically a robot at this point, an android. Huh. Was this the idea for James Cameron to direct Terminator? Just wondering. So anyway, the survivors reactivate Ash's head, and he confirms that the company's orders. Ash states that the alien is unkillable and expresses his admiration for it, taunting them about their chances of survival. Up until that point, Ripley shuts him down, and Parker incinerates him. Yeah, those guys do not want to listen to that bastard anymore. Like, Ripley and the crew member had enough of had enough. Like, they gotta go find this alien creature. Now, going off topic for the scene where Ash was revealed to be an android, like Ash as an android, while being revealed, the crew members use a puppet that was created of his torso and upper body, which was operated from underneath. So they actually created a puppet for Ian Holmes' android character, Ash. And obviously enough, you see Ian Holmes' head popping up from under the table, right? Like, it's just the head. And the body, the puppet of the body is basically on on the table, right? It's basically on the table, while Ian Holmes' head was popped up from under the table. Creating, like, the decapitated head of the android, if you know what I'm saying. And during a preview screening, this scene caused an usher to faint. Wow, and I thought 1973's Exorcist caused people to faint. And in the following scene, Ash's head is placed on a table and reactivated. For portions of this scene, an animatronic head was made using a face cast of Holm. However, the latex of the head shrank while curing, and the result was not entirely convincing. And for the bulk of the scene, Holm knelt under the table with his head through a hole. So other items used during that whole decapitated head android scene had milk, caviar, pasta, fiber optics, among many other things that were used to combine inside parts of the android. That is amazing right there. Props to the visual effects team right there. Like you could definitely tell that this film definitely deserved that Oscar win for best visual effects. So anyway, as I mentioned, Ripley and the rest of the crew members had enough, and the crew decides to self-destruct the Nostromo and escape in the shuttle. While gathering supplies, Parker and Lambert are killed by the alien, and Ripley is the last crew member standing. So Ripley, the last crew member of the Nostromo, is left standing, alongside with her cat, Jonesy. And while I'm on the subject of her being the last crew member standing, I want to talk about the alien creature who killed off the crew members. So the alien is barely in this movie. So the alien is not in this movie for very long. Like, you see the alien on screen for about 4 or 5 minutes. And I believe it works very well, because if you really think about it, like, you're being like you don't see the alien as much, but like you feel the presence of the alien creature on board. And by the way, this alien is, like, we know this alien as a xenomorph, right? It's a xenomorph alien. I don't think the xenomorph name came in until the sequels, I believe. I mean, I think the sequels is where it introduced the name of the alien creature as a xenomorph, right? Kind of know what I'm saying, but that's just me. That's just my opinion. But anyway, I like how the alien is not on screen for that long. But we see shots of the alien taking out the crew members one by one, right? I mean, of course, not appearing in the movie as much really sets the tension for this movie, because if you see the creature or killer for a short, if you don't see the creature throughout the entire movie, it adds to the intensity, the anxiety, and the presence for this creature, killer, or monster throughout the entire film. That is a good way to describe this creature. And Steven Spielberg did the same thing for Jaws. And the reason why, because obviously the mechanical shark that he used was malfunctioning, so he came up with the idea to have use his camera, and we as the viewers are basically the shark. You know, we're feeling where we are being the shark, and we feel the shark's presence throughout the entire movie, and seeing the monster, killer, or creature less in the movie really adds to the tension of an attack from this creature, right? So anyway, even the alien creature itself, the xenomorph, like H.R. Geiger made several conceptual paintings of the adult alien before settling in on a final version. And of course, what he actually used to create the alien, he sculptured the body using plasticine, pieces of vertebrae from snakes, and cooling tubes from a Rolls Royce. And the head was manufactured separately by Carlo Rambaldi, who had worked on the aliens in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and part of a human skull was used as the face and was hidden under the smooth, translucent cover of the head. That is crazy right there. Even the original alien jaw that Rambaldi had is now on display in the Smithsonian Institution. And of course, the alien creature, the xenomorph, is now considered to be one of the most iconic movie monsters in all of cinema. Now, let's get back to the rest of the movie, shall we? So anyway, Ripley is the last crew member standing, and she initiates the self-destruct sequence, but unfortunately, the alien blocks her path to the shuttle. And even before that, while she's trying to escape, she finds this room, and this is going into the deleted scene, by the way. There was a deleted scene that was cut from this movie. It's basically this gooey room. You see a gooey room, and of course, Ripley finds Dallas on the wall in this alien goo, and it looks like Dallas is going to be transforming into, an alien creature. And Dallas calls out for Ripley to, Ripley, kill me. Kill me. Ripley sees Dallas. He orders Ripley to kill me. Oh my goodness. And that scene was actually cut from the final cut, by the way. Although it was actually later inserted in later DVD releases. For director's cuts, if you know what I'm saying. I guess the reason why they cut this out was because of pacing, but at the same time, with this scene, I feel like they should have kept this scene in, because it really shows how crazy this alien creature is and how terrifying it is. Seeing Dallas being stuck on this wall with alien goo, who's about to become, an alien creature himself inside an alien egg, right? And it's a scary scene. It's another scary scene in this movie, and it was cut partially because it did not look realistic enough, but also because it slowed the pace of the escape sequence. So obviously, they cut this out for pacing reasons, but at the same time, I feel like they should have kept that in, because it showcased how dangerous the xenomorphs are, right? And what the xenomorphs do to its victims. So basically, Dallas is alive in that deleted scene, but unfortunately, not so much. Not so much. So basically, Dallas is basically killed off in this deleted scene. But unfortunately, that scene was cut. So basically, Dallas being killed off is basically the alien creature capturing Dallas, if you know what I'm saying. So anyway, Ripley reaches the shuttle unhindered with Jonesy, and she narrowly escapes as the Nostromo explodes. And of course, as Ripley prepares for hypersleep, she discovers the alien has stowed itself in a narrow compartment. That part where the alien stowed itself in a narrow compartment, that scared the crap out of me. Like, how did the alien creature stow itself in a narrow compartment? How did that alien creature had time to get onto the shuttle? Like, what in the hell is going on? How fast was that creature? I don't even know. So, what Ripley does next? She dons a spacesuit, and as the alien creature is about to attack, and as she's about ready to flush the alien out into orbit, and as the alien creature, or the xenomorph, approaches Ripley, but before it can kill her, she opens the airlock door, and the resulting explosive decompression almost ejects the alien into space. But it hangs onto the door frame, or or one of the jet engines, I should say, and Ripley activates the engine, and it blasts the alien into space. And that is it. That is the end of the alien creature. And Ripley is the last member of the Nostromo. And of course, Ripley reports her final entry log. And I quote, "Final report of the commercial starship Nostromo. Third officer reporting. The other members of the crew, Kane, Lambert, Parker, Brett, Ash, and Captain Dallas are dead. Cargo and ship destroyed. I should reach the frontier in about 6 weeks. With a little luck, the network will pick me up. This is Ripley, last survivor of the Nostromo, signing off." And that's basically it. As Ripley and Jonesy are the last, Ripley obviously, but so is Jonesy, the cat. They're basically the last survivors of the Nostromo. The two go into hypersleep. And that's basically it. That is basically the end of Alien. And I gotta say, folks, it's a really good movie. I enjoyed this movie so much. You're basically on the edge of your seat throughout the rest of the movie because of the alien creature that is being on board. You are fueled with anxiety and fear and suspense. And that's how good this movie is. Even the story is great. The direction that really Scott went with was good. And of course, the actors all did a very good job. Like Sigourney Weaver did a fantastic job as Ellen Ripley. And of course, the other cast members did a fantastic job too. But obviously enough, the highlight of this movie is obviously Sigourney Weaver. Like, she really knocked it out of the ballpark, and I'm glad she played Ellen Ripley once more in the Aliens movie that she did with James Cameron. I've only seen bits and pieces of Aliens, but I will get to that movie in the near future. And with that being said, other things to say, the visual effects on this movie are very good too, and it really deserved that Academy Award for best visuals. The music by Jerry Goldsmith is good, and of course the alien creature is also good too. Like, the alien creature is arguably one of the greatest monster creatures you have ever seen put to screen. And one last thing to mention, I forgot to mention the Nostromo, how the Nostromo was filmed. So director Ridley Scott filmed model shots of the Nostromo and its attached ore refinery. He made slow passes, filming at 2.5 frames per second to give the models the appearance of motion. And that's pretty cool too. And a crew of over 200 craftspeople and technicians constructed the three principal sets: the surface of the alien planetoid and the interiors of the Nostromo, and the spacecraft itself was also amazing too. Like, it was made, there were molds and casts that were scaled up as diagrams for the wood and fiberglass forms of the sets. There were tons of sand, plaster, fiberglass, rock, and gravel that were shipped into the studio to sculpture a desert landscape for that planet. But of course, obviously enough, for the Nostromo's bridge, it was actually used with computer generated imagery and the staff used CGI because it was easier than any alternative. That is amazing too. Even for the scenes that were showing the exterior of the Nostromo, a 58-foot, 18-meter landing leg was constructed to give a sense of the ship's size. And on top of that, Ridley Scott actually used two of his young sons, and of course the son of Derek Van Lith, the film's cinematographer, as stand-ins for the regular actors, wearing smaller spacesuits to make the set pieces seem larger. Now that's pretty cool, knowing the fact that Ridley Scott actually casted his own kids to be stand-ins for the actors, right? But also, another thing to add, Ridley Scott conceived a fourth act in which Ripley is forced to confront the alien on the shuttle. And I think the original idea for that ending was to have Ripley be killed off. Now, I think that would ruin the film as a whole, because Ripley, being the last sole survivor on the ship, being killed off, that would ruin the film's vibe. And of course, it was changed, and the producers over at 20th Century Fox vetoed the idea of Ripley being killed off. Like, the alien was going to bite off Ripley's head and make the final log entry in her voice. But the producers vetoed this idea because the producers believed the alien should die at the end of the movie. And that was actually a very good idea. This is like one of those times where studio interference was needed, right? There are a lot of films today, and even back then, where studios interfere a lot. And whether or not how good or bad the film is, there is a lot of studio interference when it comes to making movies. And at this point, at this instance, it was studio interference really helped out a little bit because it seems like the studio realized that it seems like the producers at 20th Century Fox were like, wait a minute, Ripley needs to live. She can't be killed off. She needs to survive. And the producer was like, hey, Ridley, how about we let Ripley live and we kill off the alien creature? And basically the rest was history. So obviously enough, there was no fourth act. So obviously enough, a good move by the producers of 20th Century Fox. That being said, that pretty much covers 1979's Alien. And to those who are listening, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and happy Halloween to everybody. And I hope you enjoyed Codo Cinema Horror Month for the 2024 year in the month of October. And before I close off, what did you all think of 1979's Alien? Did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie? Did you think the movie was okay? Did you think the movie holds up 45 years later? I would love to hear your thoughts. But anyway, that is a wrap on this episode, and this concludes Codo Cinema Horror Month for the month of October in the year 2024. Thank you all for tuning into Codo Cinema. I'm your host, Mark Codo, aka Codoman. Remember to watch movies, stay positive, and good night. Until next week.